And our lead this hour coming from the shores of the Delaware River. They're the two greatest words in sports, allegedly Game 7. We hear that all the time when there is a Game 7, and that is what we had in Philadelphia. The Phillies playing host to the upstart Diamondbacks, the interlopers of professional baseball, a trip to the Fall Classic on the line. Did you watch? Perhaps not. You were like, come on, who cares? I mean, we'll watch a basketball game or something, or who knows what else is on. So you might have missed it, but someone named Corbin Carroll, apparently a pretty good rookie for the Diamondbacks who hadn't done much in this series, had 3 hits and 4 at-bats, couple of ribbies, and a couple of runs scored, and Arizona raising Arizona as they advance to the World Series. For the first time in a generation, 22 years, that'll happen later this week. But on Tuesday night, they KO'd Philadelphia. Big, bad Philadelphia with all those burly sluggers. And 4-2 the final in Game 7 of the NLCS. Arizona will play the Texas Rangers in the World Series with Game 1 on Friday night in the Lone Star State, which is good. Show is dark on Friday night. I won't have to worry about that. Not my problem. Now, in their only other World Series, the Diamondbacks played the Yankees. And at that time, I remember the conversation here at Fox Sports Radio was there's no way the Yankees can lose because that was shortly after 9/11. It was all going to be scripted for the Yankees to win. And then Luis Gonzalez had other ideas, Luis Gonzalez, and a 7-game thriller as Mariano Rivera puked it up late there. And that was the last time Arizona was in the World Series. But the better story for our purposes, the better talk radio, is in the losing locker room. So that is where we will go. There were some comments made by Rob Thompson, the manager of the Fightin' Phils. In fact, I think we have a clip we would like to play here. Here's the Phillies manager commenting on his thoughts following the Phillies being eliminated by Arizona. Let's go to the audio tape. Take a listen.
We're built for October because of our starting pitching, because of our offense, and we have a good bullpen. Now, sometimes those areas break down a little bit, but we've got a good ball club. But our goal isn't to get to the playoffs. Our goal is always to win the World Series.
All right, so his goal is to win the World Series. But then this is the money soundbite here. Here is Thompson explaining the situation as he sees it for his baseball team. Let's go to the audio tape. Take a listen.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. It really is. You know, and I told the club, if you asked me 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, if we'd be going home tonight, I would have said no. So that's how much belief I have in this club. So it's very disappointing. But our clubhouse, those guys, they have nothing to be ashamed of because they played their asses off all year for us.
So that last part is what we call in my business the money quote. And that's the part we would like to discuss. So the question, where are you at with the manager Rob Thompson here saying the Phillies have nothing to be ashamed of for losing a home Game 7 in the National League Championship Series? So I've got audience, bus driver, and Welch's. And we'll put all of these things together, and we are going to make a cactus because that's what we have in the World Series, the cacti, as the Phillies fell into a cactus and have now been eliminated stage right. So to answer the question, where are you at with the Phillies manager saying they have nothing to be ashamed of for losing in the NLCS? My first thought is, well, that's a boilerplate response, right? You're supposed to say that, right? You can't kill your team. You're not supposed to kill your team. But last I checked, and maybe I'm wrong on this, maybe things have changed since when I was growing up, but in professional sports, it's not Little League. You're not paid to play hard. The payment is to succeed, to find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And last I checked, losing a home Game 7 to an inferior opponent is not finding the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. What do I know, though? I just do the overnight show. So the Phillies manager, his comments are tone deaf as he went with sportscliche.com he went with the standard cliche response, which was mindless banter. Do better, be better. And here's the problem with what Rob Thompson said there. Know your audience. Know your audience. Philly is not L.A. or St. Louis where people, we'll come back and get them next year. Everything's going to be fine. I can't tell you how many Dodger fans, fellow Dodger fans, I've had message me say, why are you so hard on the Dave Roberts and the Dodgers? They had a great year. They'll get them next year. I'm like, oh, my God. I do a face palm when these idiots reach out to me. But in Philadelphia, it's not like that. They're not wired like that in Philly. They don't eat the creamy potato soup performance the Phillies went out and put on the field and accept that. And in the annals of Philly sport, there will be a special place reserved for the 2023 Philadephia Phillies. Wowzers. As they went abracadabra, hocus pocus, presto, and all the other magic words, and a Harry Houdini special. What a vanishing act. They were legitimately playing a different level of baseball than the Diamondbacks. It looked like it was a professional baseball team versus a Little League team, and not even a good Little League team, the first couple of games in Philadelphia. And for that to turn over and end up where we are today with the Diamondbacks coming back and going to the World Series is mind-blowing. And it's not good for baseball. It's not. More on that in a minute. Now, B, as we often like to do behind these microphones, we take the highlighter out and highlight some names. Who are the fall guys for the Philadephia Phillies blowing that 2-0 lead in the National League Championship Series? So the highlighter, I start with the highlighter, and I highlight right there, I highlight bullpen, but Craig Kimbrell in particular. There's others, but Craig Kimbrell, right? That this should never have gotten to a Game 7. And Kimbrell is at the very top of the spear here. He picked up back-to-back losses in Games 3 and 4 in Phoenix, so he now does the Roberto. He's now the bus driver. As also grabbing seats in the back of the struggle bus, you've got Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, and Bryce Harper, the Three Stooges. These guys looked amazing. They looked stunningly good at the beginning of this playoff series. And well, it's good to know Trey Turner's still up to his old tricks, because that's the Trey Turner I remember at the end of this series with the Dodgers in the playoffs. But Schwarber, Turner, and Harper, the 1, 2, and 3 hitters. Bada bing, bada boom, bada boom. These three guys there had 20 at-bats the last couple of games, and they went 1 for 20.
Struggling.
They drove in as many runs as you did listening, and I did as well. They also had as many runs scored as you had and I had. Suffering from a chronic case of tight tuchus syndrome. All that matters is who's better in the moment, and Arizona was obviously better in the moment, but those big stars, they got little tiny marbles, if you know what I'm talking about. Now, Philadelphia, paying those guys a combined $709 million to go out and ride the Vomit Comet in the most important games of the season. So Bryce Harper was pumping his chest out, and that's why you pay the big money. Is that why you pay the big money, Bryce Harper? I'm asking for a friend. Is that why you pay the big money? Because that sucked, okay? That was pathetic. Why don't you go bowling with Mookie Betts? How about that? Home field, Decibel City, Bedlam at the bank, all that. Blue collar, grit. Of course, none of it mattered. And I'm sure next playoff appearance we have in any sport, I guess the next playoff round will be football, and we'll hear the same idiots. Well, what about momentum? They have all the momentum. Well, this series certainly proved there is no such thing yet again as momentum. It's amazing how many times in sports we are reminded there is no such thing as momentum in sports, and dumb people continue as sports fans. All the momentum. Morons. All right, last word here. So you take a couple of steps back and you look at the landscape in baseball. And we put this up on social media on my X account, which I still have for some reason. But I put this up there. What letter grade do you give the 2023 World Series? This is something that we throw out every time we have a new championship round. We put a grade on it. And I am the master of grading. And the MALLER report card, now taking in all of the variables on a Texas Rangers, Arizona Diamondbacks World Series, taking in television markets, taking in all of the star players, taking in popularity of teams in baseball. This matchup, and I'm not gonna be a douche, okay? I'm gonna be fair to Arizona and Texas. This matchup is an F. It is an F. It's the worst possible scenario of the teams in the playoffs for Major League Baseball, outside of possibly Tampa Bay. But the World Series matchup, this is by far the worst matchup in the internet age we've had, in the social media age. Not the internet age, but the social media age. Now, years ago, I covered the previous worst matchup in the World Series, and I know about bad matchups. That was the Florida Marlins and the Cleveland Indians, who played in the World Series years ago. But this one is even worse. We are going to watch no matter what. So it's not necessarily about us. I do a sports radio show. I have 4 hours. I have a blank canvas I have to fill every night of conversation. So of course I'm going to watch. I mean, the Toledo Mud Hens could play in the World Series, and I would watch, right? One of those teams in Dubai, the new Dubai Baseball League, could play. I would watch. That's not the measurement. And I point this out all the time, and people roll their eyes at me, but I'll do it again. These jewel events, the championship rounds, are a wellness check. It is taking the temperature in the room on the growing popularity of your sport. Think of it like real estate. It's an open house. You're inviting strangers, the casuals, to sample your product. And you assume that some of those people will continue to follow your product the following year. But in order to get buzz, you've got to get that Welch's. Ergo some juice. There's no juice. And this series has little star power and no glamour. And generally speaking, people that aren't like us, we're hardos, right? We're hardo people as sports fans. But the casual fan, the fan that couldn't tell you the difference between a football and a volleyball and a baseball and a basketball, that particular fan leeches on to glamour and star power. These are not legacy teams in baseball. They're not. Arizona's been a middling franchise. They and the Rangers both tanked a couple years ago to lose over 100 games, and now they've been rewarded with a World Series appearance. But Arizona, they weren't even popular in their own ballpark. They were 20th in home attendance in Arizona. You've got the Rangers, who were the worst road draw in baseball this season. The worst road draw in all of Major League Baseball was the Texas Rangers, which means when they went on the road, teams did not give away enough bobbleheads and backpacks and crap like that. But the Rangers, listen, Corey Seager's a star. If you're a baseball person, Adolis Garcia, breakout star. But they're not household names, and they're not crossover stars. And any way you slice it, this particular World Series does not have the razzle-dazzle. There's no razzle, and there's no dazzle. That's the reality.